What is a CRM? CRM is an acronym for Customer Relationship Management. The reason why I'm looking into this today is because I think maybe in the previous episode or the one before that, I made mention to a CRM. So I figured let me flesh it out today so that we have an understanding of what it is that I meant when I said CRM. As usual, take this on board that when I define these processes and terms, I'm trying to use a working man's definition. So don't expect that these definitions are going to be technically precise or complete in themselves. Okay, so CRM, an acronym for Customer Relationship Management. Now, in my opinion, this refers to either the tool or processes that you use to facilitate conversations with your customers. So, the way I use it, I refer to the actual tool that you are using or the thought process. I mean, for me, they're interchangeable because your thought process informs the tool that you're going to use. And the whole point of it is to facilitate conversations. Basically, it's just to move conversations along with your customers or your prospects, whoever it is that you're talking to. Now, why is a CRM important? It's because ultimately that is what we're going to use to get at repeat purchases, referrals, endorsements, reviews, and also to gain insight from our customer base that we're going to use to improve our service or our product. Now, to make that, to flesh it out a little bit, for those of you who've been listening from the beginning, it's no surprise, I'm a wedding photographer. So if I have a CRM thought process or an actual tool, it is from examining and moving along these conversations with people that I interact with that I'm going to be able to get repeat purchases. I'm going to be able to get referrals, and it's from and it's from the tool that I use for guided conversations that I'm going to be able to gain some insights as to where my service is strong or where my service is weak, what I need to improve on, things that I could add to the service to make things more palatable for my customers. So let me just put it that way. So that's the reason why we need to use a CRM. In the beginning, a lot of us are going to be doing these processes sort of intuitively, and I guess that's fine in the beginning when you've shot your first wedding or you've planned your first, 2 or 3 weddings if you're a wedding planner. So in the beginning, it might be easy because you don't have volume on your end. But after a while, your book of business starts to grow, and then you have to use more sophisticated processes of keeping tabs of who is it that you served, who are you talking to, where you guys at the conversation, what was the last thing that you guys spoke about, yada yada yada. Especially since sometimes these conversations continue across different mediums. So you may have had a phone conversation today, text messages tomorrow, emails next week, and on and on. So you need a way to be able to track these sorts of things. Now, where was I? Okay, so we've just gone through the definition of CRM as either a tool or the thought process itself. Okay. Yeah. So, like I said, the thought process is what you use to take note of the conversation, which is easy to do when you're in the early stage of setting up your business. So, let's say you're a cake artist and you've baked 2 cakes so far. It'll be easy to mentally track those sorts of conversations. A week after the wedding, it won't be hard to remember to send a thank you text message to the couple, and then maybe follow up on how they like the cake or not, and then let's see what else. Ask for a referral, and then also to make a mental note of the wedding. Okay, so this wedding was October 1 this year, so October 1st of next year, I have to send out a congratulatory call or text message. So that'll be easy to do in the beginning, but eventually you get volume. So the whole point of the process is to, just like I've given in the examples so far, you need to be able to have an overall trajectory. So this is where we are, this is where we intend to go. You need to know where it is in that trajectory that you are. So like in the cake baker's case, we're done with the wedding. So we now know that we're in the customer service phase. Is everybody happy? And then we know that the next phase is a referral phase. That's if you do business similar to how I do it. Of course, different people have their own way of doing things. So you not only know where you are in the trajectory, you have to be able to to plot the next course of action, and then move our brides and grooms through the relationship steadily. And then over time, you start off in the beginning doing this mentally. After a while, you gain a philosophy of what you want your own customer relationship process to be like, and that is what you now use to codify in your CRM tool when you start looking for tools that you should use. Now, to the question of tools, should you actually use tools? As usual, yes. Yes, you should use a tool if it blends with your sales philosophy. For instance, there are some ready-made solutions out there. One of the most popular ones is called Salesforce. It's I can't remember if it's an app on itself or if it's integrated into Gmail or your web browser or whatever it is. But basically, Salesforce is the most popular one out there, but it's used for more corporate business to business type scenarios. I haven't had a look at it yet, even though I'm curious. And so because of that, I suspect that it's not applicable for those of us in the weddings and the event space. It might be overkill to use Salesforce. I think also, especially since Salesforce is a paid option, and from what I hear, I think it's one of the more expensive ones. But basically, package solutions like this, like Salesforce, maybe are not so applicable to those of us in the weddings and the events space. So if you're able to find something that fits with your sales philosophy and your customer relationship management philosophy, then yeah, by all means, get one. But then again, maybe not. Maybe you shouldn't use a ready-made solution. That's because it's possible to have handcrafted solutions available. Now, for those of us in Abuja, well, at least for those of us that I've run into, you'll find that we've had some previous academic or work experience in other industries. And so I would say that whatever it is that you've been exposed to in your previous work history or what you learned in school, I think would work absolutely fine. So some of us are perfectly capable just using the contact notes feature in our phones. That's every time you make a call, you just pop down to the notes section and then you make a note of the conversation happened on this day. This is what it is that we discussed. This is what the customer expects from me. She wants me to send the invoice out to her on or before the 3rd of October. And then you make the note in the contact notes section on your phone. And then you go and make a note on the calendar for 3rd of October saying, send invoice out to Gbemi, bride. So some people are perfectly capable doing that and they have no problems with it. It's something I've tried in the past. But the reason why I stopped doing it was because I wasn't sure what the upper limits on how many characters you can use in contact notes. So I stopped using that. Also because after a while, I wanted to start adding attachments into the notes. For instance, if I did send an invoice on the 3rd of October to the bride, Gbemi Sayo, in this case, I would also like to attach that as a PDF form in the note, just so that in the future, if there were any issues and we weren't clear on anything, I'd be able to go back to the note where everything is, the whole history is, open up the PDF and say, oh, Gbemi, this is actually what we agreed to. I sent you a copy on so date. If you've lost it, I can send you another one right now. So since you couldn't attach, well, at least back then when I tried this out, I was using an iPhone and you couldn't attach PDFs in contact notes, so I stopped doing that. An older form of CRM that I tried out was having a physical diary and then blending that with my calendar on the phone. Excuse me. My academic background was in law, and I have some experience as a lawyer, or just briefly, only worked for a lawyer for 2 years. And in the legal space, in Nigeria anyway, back when I was in Lagos, that is how we did things back then. Each lawyer would have their own physical diary. The office, or the chamber as it's called, would have its own diary that typically would be managed by I think it's called the practice manager. I can't really remember. So the practice manager would have the main diary for the whole office, and basically that's how we coordinated things. So you go to the court, or you have a meeting with the client, you make a note of everything, what the summary is, what the next key points of action are, and then you come back, and then you go to the practice manager who has the main diary, and then you key all the information there. That we had the meeting with the client Gbemisayo today, and she's expecting us to come to her home or her office on the 3rd of October so that we can negotiate terms of agreement with so and so who are her business partners on the other side. So basically that's how it worked. So that in my diary, since I was the person who ran point on that meeting, I would know what the next course of action would be. And since I had put it in the main diary for the practice manager would also be able to see there that, okay, we have this coming up on the 3rd of October, so that if anything happened, if I was ill or maybe I left the firm, he would be able to say, hey, you, Victor, take this file, go to Ms. Gbemisayo, this is what needs to be done. And the person would just have a look at the diary and know exactly what the next step is, and would know how we're going to move Ms. Gbemisayo along in the relationship. Or the transaction rather. So some people also handle paper files and calendar. That's also like a hybrid of what we would do back when I was in a law firm. So you have your diary, you're managing along with your file. And I've met a wedding planner who actually does that. She has a paper, she has a file, and it's all there. Clippings, even clippings of samples. So instead of writing in a note that we agreed on white Egyptian cotton for the tablecloths for Gbemisayo's wedding on the 3rd of October, I've met a wedding planner who actually has a paper file where she would have a snippet of that of the material and the exact color that was agreed to, just to keep things moving along. So that way we should be able to show the vendor and say, no, this is what we agreed to. And if the bride, Ms. Gbemisayo, were to get it twisted or to forget at some point later on, she'll be able to pull it up and say, oh, no, this is actually what we agreed to, and this is the sample that I showed you. And in the paper file, it would all be there. The seating arrangements, the draft menu, everything. And so, yes, it can be a handy way of doing that if you're down with that sort of approach. It's something that I tried and I gave up on immediately because I do a lot of my stuff over the phone, impromptu meetings, those sorts of things. So it wasn't unusual for me to receive a phone call and I'd be on my way to a meeting, and lo and behold, when I left the house earlier, I left my file at home, or I left my physical diary at home. And so it created those sorts of problems, and that's why I kind of ditched these, should I call them old school approaches? Well, let me say hard copy. Yeah, so that's why I ditched these hard copy approaches and I moved to what I'm using now, which I'll talk about in a bit. And then I've seen some people who use post-it notes and a whiteboard, although I have only seen this in a real estate firm. So someone comes in, you have the meeting, the person just the people in the office would make quick notes on the post-it notes, and there was a big whiteboard that was separated into segments. I can't remember what the segments were, but one segment had, I think, house viewing. Another segment had, I think, like contract negotiation, stuff like that. So basically, you would just have the person's name on the post-it note, and you would move it from first meeting to house viewing to contract negotiation to payment stage to whatever it is that real estate professionals do. So you can see that it is something that can work. Although when I first saw it, I was mortified because I just thought, what if a note falls off, or what if someone's child is in the office and the person just pulls a post-it note off the board? But I guess it worked for them, and so no worries there. I guess summary, if you seem to be getting the gist of what we're saying here so far, is that whatever it is that works with you is fine, and it's a good starting point, because whatever system you pick, eventually as things get more complex in your business, it breaks down and you have to upgrade. But it's okay starting with what you're comfortable with for now. Now, those are some of the hard copy, let me call them hard copy or old school CRM approaches that I have been exposed to. I'm sure you guys have seen other ways of doing it, since we're all from different, we all have different previous academic backgrounds, and we've worked in different kinds of offices before. Now, to my favorite, the cloud-based solutions. The reason why I like the cloud and mobile based solutions is because these things are always with you. So that's what I do right now. So that way, it's possible for me to wake up in the morning, even if I wake up late, excuse me, and I'm rushing around, school runs, all of that. I can drop the kids in school, start heading back home, receive a call on the spot. It's not a problem. I can handle the call, make all my notes, adjust the calendar, do everything from the phone. Head to meetings, be able to update notes after the meetings from my phone, send invoices from my phone. What else? But that's my approach now, basically. I'm looking at cloud and mobile based solutions. So there's Google Notes and your calendar, which works beautifully because every time you use Google Notes or Google Docs or Google Highlight and all those other Google things, you can sync them seamlessly with your calendar. And I know a female photographer who uses that. Although when I was looking for these types of solutions about 4 or 5 years ago, I don't think this was available at the time, and so I ditched Google. And also because at the time I think Google required you to have an active internet connection to be able to access things at all times. And sometimes you're in a place where there's a spotty bit of internet. It would be nice for you to be able to make the note, and then when the service is restored later on, everything just syncs. And especially since I had another female friend, Ify, but she does mostly baby photos now. There was a time when she used Google and ended up being double booked, and well, I don't know how that happened, but it just sent a chill down my spine, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to skip Google. But from what I've heard, for people who use it, in fact, my video guy swears by Google Notes and Google Calendar. He says that has never happened to him. So I guess that was just a freak accident that things don't sync properly. So what I do is I use Evernote, and I sync that to my Google Calendar. And then there's some other people out there who prefer to use Trello and sync it to a Google Calendar. Evernote and Trello are basically, well, they're not the same thing, but they have the same approach. Evernote and Trello allow you to take random, never-ending notes. So you're able to put as much text as possible. I think up to, is it 60 MB per note? I can't remember what the limit is, and you can attach stuff. So that's what I use, basically. So I can leave the meeting, I can scribble notes. If I don't want to type them in, I just take a picture of my scribbles and have that in the note. I send out an invoice. I'm able to convert the invoice to a PDF on my phone and then attach that to the note. So basically, using these sorts of note-taking solutions, Evernote and Trello, you're able to have a history of everything that you and the client have been through and a summary of what it is that the next steps are supposed to be. So it's very easy for me to go for the meeting and then make a note. This is what they're looking for. This is what we discussed. The quotation came up to 400K. They want the invoice by so date. I send the invoice, and then the next thing, I schedule the follow-up call, and of course it syncs onto my calendar. So let's say we have the meeting October 3rd. I schedule the follow-up call October 5th. I wake up in the morning October 5th, my calendar just beeps. I'm like, oh, this is what I need to head to for the day. And then I open Evernote, have a look at the details, and then I just schedule everything on and on and on and on and on until payment, send receipt, do the wedding, customer service conversation to be sure everybody is happy, see if we can get a schedule the referral conversation, and well, that's it basically. So that's my those are the options that I think are available for those of us in the wedding planning space. As you can see, you don't have to use an extremely formal and ready-made solution like Salesforce. There are all these options that are available to you, from the old school methods like files and diaries to mobile-based solutions like Google Notes, Evernote, Trello, or just writing down the information in the contact note section of your phone. Now, is all this really important? Why make all this so difficult, and why all the brouhaha? Now, in my own opinion, this is important. It's very important because If you don't have this, you're going to start losing track of customer conversations. There's going to be that week where you will have 3 or 4 meetings, and then you wake up on a Friday morning and you're trying to figure out, who have I sent invoices to and who haven't I sent invoices to? Did I send out the right invoice? The meeting at Bemisayo, was that where we came up with the after interviewing all the vendors, is that the one that we came up with costs for about 1 million, or was that the one that we came up with cost for 850? And it's a lot of a hassle. There's plenty of headache, and God forbid that you actually do send in the wrong quotation. It'll make you seem unprofessional. Now, when you start losing track of customer conversations, when you start receiving more inquiries and things of that nature, that is one avenue where we lose money, because conversations start falling through the cracks. So Bemisayo is expecting the invoice on the 3rd of October, but you don't send it and you forget. Maybe you remember on the 29th of October, and then you call her, you hurry up, you want to push something in, but then it's too late. She didn't hear from you on October 3rd, and so on October 5th, she met another wedding planner who seemed to be really nice and professional and on top of her game, and so she went with that person instead. Or in my own case, you wake up one day and you remember, and then you call the bride, and lo and behold, it's the day of the bride's wedding. Yes, that's an embarrassing story that I will tell you guys some other day. So anyway, so that's the summary. So a CRM is what you use to manage the relationship. It's really important because that's where we're going to get our repeat purchases, our referrals, and we're going to get some insight about how to improve our business and to make sure that things don't fall through the cracks. So thank you very much, guys, for listening to the Sales for the Nigerian Wedding Industry podcast. I'm your host, Abuja-based photographer Tavishima Ayede. If you guys have any questions, comments, queries, as usual, hit me up on email, ayede.taver@gmail.com. I'm on Twitter as @AYEDETAVER, no space, no underscore. Or you can hit me up, as usual, WhatsApp, Telegram, the other telephony stuff, 080-6466-2140. Thank you very much, guys, for listening. I'll catch you at the next episode.